No, 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 Batman, Batman. No, 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 Batman, Batman. I just saw The Dark Knight Rises. I'd like to make a very serious note right now in the beginning, and because I saw the movie at midnight, I didn't know about the incident in Aurora, Colorado. I do want to mention that I find it devastating, especially since a lot of my family lives in the Denver area. However, I don't want this to affect how you view my review of the movie, and I want to let you know it did not affect the way I saw it, and how I felt about it. I'm not going to try and mention any spoilers, by the way. That way you can see this review without it ruining your entire experience. First, I want to mention that this series is really important to me. It really got me into comic books, and my first comic book I read was definitely Batman. So because I love all three movies as a whole, it's really hard for me to compare them because I just view it as one big, amazing Batman story. The Dark Knight Rises is very different from both Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. It definitely is a lot more physical and about physical strength and physical limits. It's a lot more different from the first two, where Batman Begins is more like Batman coming to terms with being a symbol and the spirituality of Batman. And The Dark Knight is very much about the mind and getting behind the mind of the Joker. And with all of the different themes of the movies, it makes the entire series really interesting because it goes through body, mind, and spirit, which is really neat in a analytical aspect. But we're not going to go there. When I found out Bane was the villain of the last movie in the Dark Knight trilogy, I already kind of knew what consequences Batman was going to be in because of the comic book Nightfall, or the graphic novel Nightfall, where basically the same thing happens to Batman. Try not to spoil anything, even though the movie posters have already probably done that. So I was not shocked by that. I was a little afraid because I knew he wasn't necessarily dead, but I didn't know what was going to happen to the Batman. Let's just say there's a lot of things I already knew, especially about Blake. I already knew who he was. I knew who he was since the trailer. And I knew the ending of the movie was going to happen. I just assumed. Bane is really neat because he's all physical. He even associates power with physical power. He doesn't even associate it with economic power or political power, which is really neat. That's basically all I have to say about Bane. Moving on, I'd like to mention Catwoman. I loved her little one-liners. I love them. Even though the Dark Knight trilogy is supposed to be really realistic, I really like that comic booky aspect to it. Kind of like how they add in Spider-Man's one-liners in the new Spider-Man movie. I really want to talk about the ending. Let's just say, I'll just tell you my emotions. So, climax happens, Batman's reunited with Bane, and we figure out who the true villain is, and I knew they had something to do with it. I'm not going to say who it was, or give any clues, but I knew there was something going on there, and so we figured that out, and everything's like, oh my gosh, whoa, connections, and by this time I'm like on the edge of my seat. And so then Batman saves the day, right? He saves the day, and I'm crying, bawling my eyes out. And then we go to Gordon and Alfred at the Wayne Manor, and they're bawling their eyes out, and it's just completely heartbreaking, and I don't know what to do at this point. I'm just so sad. And then we cut to Blake, and we see his little happy twist in the movie, and then relief happens. And Fox asks some maintenance guys about the bat, and you're like, oh. And then Alfred goes to Florence, Italy, and you're like, thank you, Nolan. Thank you. You spared me pain. Oh my gosh, it was just a great ending. Once, like, the turning point happens, like, it was just a roller coaster from then on to the end. I am literally speechless. Now, even though I really, really like the movie, I do have one problem with it, and that is the little tiny plot hole I found. I kind of have to spoil something. It's very minor, and if you watch the movie, you will immediately know what I'm talking about. Question: how does Bruce Wayne get back into Gotham? When I watched the movie, that's the only thing I was wondering for like 5 minutes. I was like, wait a minute. But I did find one solution that was not given. There are emergency supply trucks coming into the city for the citizens. He could have easily dressed up like a driver and disguised himself in. My only solution. So that's my little review of The Dark Knight Rises. Definitely go see it. In the theater. Don't wait for it to come out on DVD. It won't be the same. So now I'm going to rate it for you, and I'll do a rating from 1 to 10. 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. And I'm a little harsh. I would rate it an 8.5. What I want to know from you is what your rating is. If you have any other plot holes you found, I think those are really interesting. How you saw the movie? I saw it normal. I didn't see 3D or IMAX, and I thought it was amazing. I want to know if that makes a difference. I don't really think it does, but I'd like to know. If you think I'm good at reviewing movies, just tell me a movie to watch, and I'll review it because movies are my life.